So these shows, there's going to be a couple of them, are going to be important. You're going to be able to see the playback on these. You can be able to get some notes from this stuff. And as always, you can always reach Pop and me at redonkulous12.gmail. But let's start pushing forward here. Bob, why don't you tell us more about what you were talking about? Where does this begin? Oops, wrong button. I do that. You're up, Bob. Hot seat for you.
That happens to all of us as we get older. Which one? Oops. Thank you very much. So basically, we want to look at this for what it really is. And this is a system of money making, money grubbing, whatever you want to call it, by state employees. All of us go through a period of time where we're really angry at the X and we blame everything on the X, blame everything on the moon. And we're so busy pushing that agenda, sometimes we miss who the movers are that are making it happen. And this is really the lawyers, because in order for the lawyers to make money, they have to keep the scam itself going. And in order for the scam to go, the state has to be involved, because really it's about the state making money out of the federal funds under the welfare system. And what they did back in the 70s was they created a commission system. So they would give the states extra money for being extra aggressive. And they gave them permission to use contempt and jail and fish hooks in our ears and the whole legal gambit. And they said, have fun with that, because divorce, alimony, and child support are part of the jurisdiction that belongs to the states, not the federal government. Congress didn't take over child support. Congress just put money in a bucket and said, look, take care of those kids, the low income and households where the father is dead or the father is in jail, because there was a lot of those in the 70s. But they said, look, this is costing the government bazillions of dollars. It's one of the most expensive areas of the federal spending. So they said, we need a way to replace some of that money. Here's a way to do that. We're going to say, if the states go out and do more child support orders, bigger child support orders, or collect more money out of people, and it's all about paternity, fathers, and who to baby daddy, finding out who they can take this money from. And so even at the beginning of this system, veteran benefits have always been exempt. Always. Except for benefits received by military retirees that are waived out to receive VA benefits. So they could have touched VA benefits. But all of that came to an end when the Former Spouses Act was put forward in 1982 after the McCarty decision. So you've all heard about these before. And if you have any questions, you can actually get this from my website and from your website, because we're going to be putting
any link we reference up here tonight. The links are going to be available. So yeah.
So thank you. I don't want to lose time on that. I want to make sure that you understand. In 1982, Congress separated military retired pay from veteran benefits by saying that veteran benefits are subtracted from disposable retired pay. And the disposable retired pay definition says if you're discharged for disability under Chapter 61, that's exempt. If you have benefits that are waived out for retired pay under civil service or retired military pay, that's waived out. And so they separated the veteran benefits. After that, we go forward in time to 1987. We hear about Rose versus Rose. And I guarantee you, almost every military or veteran family goes through divorce, alimony, or child support is going to get Rose versus Rose shoved up their caboose, because this is how they say states have jurisdiction. In the Rose case, the Supreme Court was looking at Section 211, which is the jurisdiction of veteran benefits decisions. And it didn't quite happen to preempt state jurisdiction. It didn't make veteran benefits exempt from state jurisdiction. It sort of almost did, but they said it doesn't because the exact words did not fit that description. So in 1988, Congress passed the Veterans Judicial Review Act. In an interesting thing, unanimous wall-to-wall bipartisan avalanche. They said, hell no, boys and girls. Republicans, Democrats, and independents, everybody got together and said, no. Veteran benefits are exempt from everything, not just taxes, everything. Nobody can touch them because the secretary of the VA, or at the time, the administrator of the VA, shall decide all questions of law or fact that affect the provision of benefits to any veteran, any dependent, or any survivor. So we learned that when Congress changed that particular statute, that superseded the Rose versus Rose case, making it dead on arrival. So at that point, veteran benefits are exempt from state jurisdiction. So it doesn't matter what any other law says. Jurisdiction to make a decision about how those benefits are distributed between the veteran and the dependent belongs to the administrator of the VA. And then in 1991, that was changed over to a department and it became Section 511, and jurisdiction belongs to the secretary of the VA. However, states didn't want to play along with this. Judges do not obey the supreme law of the land. And they want to put us through hell. So they use Rose versus Rose as an excuse to go after the veterans. They use contempt, they use jail, they use various kinds of harassment. And they tell us, hey, you'll never see your kid again if you don't sign this release of information so we can get into your VA files. And the problem is that they have no jurisdiction to make any decision about the disability, to make any decision about income against the fact of disability itself. I've been talking a lot, but I want to back off a little bit and say, look,
we learned very on that they say a lot of things and expect us to not know anything about the truth. And when you do know about the truth, it makes them very uncomfortable. I just had a realization, was that movie from the 80s, The War of the Roses, about the Rose v. Rose case?
No.
Okay. Okay. Because I could see Hollywood doing that.
Movie.
No, I can see Hollywood doing that. They do it all the time with movies. They'll use a movie to set the stage to get people to accept an idea. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah. Excellent question. No, the difficulty really is that it's a money-making system. The states make lots of money. The states make extra money because of Title 4D. The states use that as an opportunity to come after us. They look at veteran benefits as if they have the power to get there. They use Rose as an excuse to get there. So all of this is tied together. So they use our care for our families as a way to hurt and manipulate us, all of which is so that they can steal money. And the thing is, it makes our families hate us because that's where the anger and the animosity of the former spouses comes into play. And that's where the greed comes from. The lawyers are training them to hate us. The judges are training them to hate us. The system itself is training them to hate us. Once a veteran becomes homeless because of this, most of them never see their kids again. I'm one of the few lucky ones that got to see my kids. Part of this is because we get ashamed of our situation. The other part is that mostly the children are conditioned to hate us. That's what's called parental alienation.
Yeah. I got very lucky on that front myself.
Yeah. And so like I said, I still haven't seen my youngest since 1999, but looking at where we are now, I've been following this path, these arguments, the things that people have said to their judges. So many of us will stand up to the court. And if you stand up in the state court and you say, hey, no, you can't do that, you're going to get in trouble and go to jail. The judge in my case said, I want your guitar. And I got a nice 12-string guitar. He said, I want that guitar. And I said,
I beg your pardon?
Yeah. And I said, she can't play it. Her lawyer doesn't deserve it. And you can't have it. And he said, I can hold you in contempt. And I said, yes, sir, I'm contemptuous. And he sort of passed on that because he didn't know how he wanted to respond. He still wrote this heavy duty order, and he said, Rose versus Rose says, I have jurisdiction to take your veteran benefits. And he just went at it. That was part of the problem. In my case, it was a while later when the Child Support Enforcement Office had run up a back order based on that fraud, saying that I wasn't disabled, even though I had documentation of the disability and I had active VA claim. They said, you don't look disabled. You got 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 nostrils.
Wait. You don't look disabled.
Yeah, I know. I tell you what, I may not look disabled, but boy, I smelled disabled, because while we're in the court, I was so sick. My guts were turning and everything. I cleared the courtroom a couple of times.
Is that disabled enough for you?
Oh, yeah. And
Wow.
so looking at my own experience, I had to say, I thought it was just me. And remember, I was just too dumb to know how to deal with this, how to explain this to the judge. Hey, man, my benefits are exempt. But it wasn't just me. Every single military or veteran family goes through this process is going to get hit by this fraud.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is turn the tide, change the direction. We want to create a paradigm shift with an electric cattle prod, because the idea is to say you can sue the judges. The judges have immunity, right? Everybody's heard of judicial immunity.
This I'm very interested in. Yep.
Yes.
So this is the tasty part. You probably see the thing on my website where it says how to sue for due process of law.
Take notes, everyone.
So due process of law doesn't mean just being able to stand there and talk about your problem to the judge. Due process of law means the court is required to make a list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the rights that you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the rights of the other person. And then, with those rights listed and recognized, find a path through that process to solve whatever problem is there, whether it's a civil suit, a criminal suit, family law, even suing a judge. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's what due process of law is. When people say my due process rights were violated, they just mean they didn't get their chance to speak in court. But the actual due process of law means the actual process of each 1, 2, 3, 4 law that is due and warranted by the situation you're in. So each one of us has fundamental constitutional rights, namely the right to raise and teach and care for our children. That cannot be taken away unless they can prove that you're an unfit parent. And I mean proof, not just like accusations, proof. And that comes from Troxel versus Granville. I'm sure you can post that when you're ready. The point, and others, the point is that they take away our kids and use them to twist the knife in our back while they're stealing our money. The thing that's different between suing for due process of law and suing a judge for money is that to sue for due process of law, you want to show that your rights that are under federal law, even in state law, state court, state rights, you can sue for due process of law. You can take the judge to a different courtroom and say, he broke the law that says he can't do that. And they have to find a different judge who's not going to break the law. Suing for due process of a state court judge in a federal court gives you the chance to say, not only did that state court judge violate my right, which is listed by the law 5301 of Title 38. Section 5301 says he couldn't possibly make any kind of order that would legal or equitable order that would take those benefits away from me. But that's a good one. But due process of law also includes the right to protection from that judge making any kind of an order or any kind of a decision on Title 38, because Section 511 says he could not possibly have the tiniest little speck of jurisdiction on the subject matter of veteran benefits. So For those of you who are very well versed in our favorite document besides the Bible, or Reader's Digest, the Constitution of the United States very pointedly says that Congress has the power and responsibility to raise money and spend money on the common defense and general welfare of the United States. Congress also has the power to create courts that are below the Supreme Court of the United States, and Congress has the power to declare war. Congress has the power to declare peace. The president can declare victory, but Congress gets to declare peace. Congress also has the power to spend the money building the Army and maintaining the Navy, as well as to write every single law that controls the operation of the government and the land and naval forces of the United States. Congress also holds the power to control all of the land and buildings and properties, the forts, the arsenals, the dockyards that are associated with the United States military. And ultimately, Congress has all the power necessary and proper to write the laws that bring all of this together and keep it on track. So is it reasonably easy to see that everything about military service in the United States and benefits for veterans belongs to Congress?
That's true.
And the federal courts? And where Congress has said, this is where you can take any question, any challenge, any charges, any suit. The Uniform Code of Military Justice is a part of Title 10. The laws that govern the land and the military and the operations of the military, all of that is built into positive law written by Congress. Nobody else has room to interfere with that. So all of this belongs to Congress. What belongs to Congress, what belongs to the federal government, does not belong to the states. So no matter how big the state jurisdiction is, divorce, alimony, child support, veteran benefits never fall into that bucket.
Every state does that, though.
Every state claims to do this. Every state, states like Louisiana has a law that specifically says if it's preempted by federal law but allowed by state law takes precedent.
Now, I'm going to step in here really quick. I encountered something yesterday and today in conversations with one of my sisters who is a lifelong academic, and she accidentally summarized the mentality around this institutionalized way of thinking. She was talking about a program that's going in place for road tolls, and I said, that's dangerous. We don't want that to happen. And without missing a beat, like it was scripted, she says, it doesn't matter what you think, that's what's going to happen, and that's what is happening, and there's nothing you can do about it, so just accept it.
Yeah, fuck you.
And that's not what I'm pointing out, is that's the institutionalized rationale, the institutionalized thinking of the majority of the American public right now. Oh, there's nothing I can do, just acquiesce.
Right.
Just cave. And that is exactly, and when she said that, it just clicked in my brain. That's what's going on. These people really think there's nothing you can do, just acquiesce. Just give in, just capitulate.
And the difficulty with that is no matter how much you give in, give up, or give out, they want more. The state wants more, and then of course your ex wants more, the lawyers want more. There's no end. There's no point at which you achieve freedom and safety from this.
And this is part and parcel of, and this is for our viewership out there. They'll know when they know. This is stock 1917 Bolshevism.
I got. This is going to be a multi-beer day. I got to get another beer.
Bob and Don, you're not aware of this little practice on the show here, but most of the time we inject comedy into the course of events just to keep things like keep people from drinking too much. But somewhere along the line, one of our viewers decided that every time I say the word Bolshevik, everybody has to drink.
Well, another thing too, guys, and Bob, obviously, Steve, I talked to you about this, but I have another buddy here in Ogama County. I live in West Branch area. he had to get a job. He's 100% P&T too, and they said, well, you're gonna have to get a job. So he does, and he's working for free because they're going to take that money too. So there is no, I mean,
yeah,
the veteran benefits are gone, and then they said, well, okay, that's one thing, but you go and supplement that with another job, and you're working for free. I mean,
Brandon, this is what's known as the process is the punishment.
Yeah.
There is no end. There is no punishment as a punishment. The process is the punishment. It's endless with them.
Yeah.
Well, somebody else mentioned a few minutes ago that the judges say you don't look disabled. I've heard that many times, and they look at us like those of us that have PTSD or other issues, whether you have MS or whatever. Well, you can't see that.
Spend a
And
day
they
in
say,
my
well,
brain.
you look like you have all your limbs. You can go to work.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's another well-known attorney that for whom we don't particularly care, that says the courts can force you to go get a job even if you're 100% disabled. That is not true.
No,
It's
they can't.
100% illegal, but it happens because our fellow veterans give in to threats of incarceration, so they just roll over.
And for us, remember, it's not the loss of the money. That's just a damned inconvenience. We can catch up on that as, if we're patient. All right, we can buckle down, make our world very small and survive that component. The problem that hurts us, the thing that rips our guts out, is the damage to our relationship with our kids. The harm that comes from the kids being repeatedly told that we're a terrible person. Yep. The harm that comes from the demand and the expectation. The kid that calls up and says, you're a piece of crap because you're not coughing up all this money to mom or whatever. And here's a funny one. One of the guys I was in a conference with today, he said, yeah, I was paying like $290 to the state. And she was only getting $80. I found out later from the kid that she was only getting $80. How come the state gets to keep all that money? Because it's how they make money. So again, I go back to the easiest part of this. The state has no jurisdiction. So they have no authority to take that money. The state is not the intended beneficiary of veteran benefits. And what we want to do is expose the embezzlement scheme for what it is. In Congress, we want them to understand that this is about the state employees committing fraud to steal federal funds to the tune of billions of dollars a year. We want the courts to recognize that these judges are just helping the state break the federal law, and that they are personally liable. And that's where we go back to the suit for money, because judges have immunity. I said this before, for everything they do that's within the box of jurisdiction that belongs to the court where they work. So if it's a judge in a general court in the state, they could do criminal stuff one day, civil stuff another day, family stuff another day. Anything they do within that box of jurisdiction, they can get away with. You can only sue them for due process, which is make a list of the laws that they've broken hurting me and obey those laws.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.